Hey everybody, and welcome back to Code Interpret. Today we're going to have a look at question number 6. It's about readiness probes. Create a single pod named pod 6 in the default namespace of image busybox. The pod should have a readiness probe executing cat, this file path. It should initially wait 5 and periodically wait 10 seconds. This will set the container ready only if the file exists. The pod should run the command touch and sleep, which will create the necessary file to be ready, and then idles. Create the pod and confirm it starts. Okay, so they want us to create a pod, okay, with the configuration. And let's try and understand a couple of things over here. So what is a readiness probe? A readiness probe allows you to check if the pod is ready to receive traffic. Okay, just to make sure that a pod that has an application and it doesn't have any kind of bug, right? So just to make sure that the traffic, if any client sends a request, they do receive a response from it, just to make sure that everything is running smooth. Okay. Now, initial wait. So it wants us to wait at least 5 seconds for the container to get ready, and then periodically wait 10 seconds. That means after every 10 seconds, once the probe is launched and it indicates that it's ready, okay, then after then it would wait for it should wait for another 10 seconds until it starts all over again, the probe. And I'm talking about the probe, okay? So we need to make sure that we configure it in such a way that after every 10 seconds, it checks if this file is still there, or whether it exists or not. Okay, and the second part of the question, the touch command allows us to create a file. Okay, and if this command is successful, then it should sleep for 1 day. That means this pod is gonna work for 1 day, and then it's gonna terminate. Okay. All right. Let's use the imperative command. Okay. kubectl run, and the name of the pod should be pod 6 in the default namespace with an image called busybox, and the version is 1.31.0. And okay, so we'll set up the remaining configuration in the edit file. Okay, pod 6. Okay, now we can check. So the file has been created. Okay, I'll just press vi pod 6, the Vim editor, and let's start fixing it up. Okay, so this pod needs to run a command to create a file. I'm going to use the shell script, and the -c flag tells it tells shell that anything after the flag is supposed to be written as a command on the shell. Okay, so we're gonna just Control Shift and V. Okay, and you can put it inside inverted commas. Okay, and now we need to create a readiness probe. Okay, so I've created so many that I already know this by heart, but I'm just gonna show you once I'm done, like where to find the manifest files from the Kubernetes docs. Okay, so this is gonna check by cat temporary ready. Okay, I think it's cat or ls. Yeah, okay, so it's gonna read that. Okay, and in order to configure the readiness probe itself, we need to use a key or property called period seconds. Okay, this is the time that it would take for it to wait for every 10 seconds and then rerun this command, the cat command. Okay, and then it needs to run the probe after an initial delay, okay, of 5 seconds, right? Now just do a final check if everything is okay and configured properly. Okay, done. Now just press escape, WQ to save it, and then kubectl create -f pod 6. Okay, just before I create this, let me show you. Okay, you just come over here and write readiness probe. This is the Kubernetes documents. Okay, it's the docs section. You can choose to click on the tasks, or your first preference should be docs. Okay, and you can read all about it over here. It gives you like a really nice explanation. Okay, like the difference between the 3 different probes. And if you want to see an example of it, click on the tasks section. Okay, and here it explains everything in detail. So you can you can set up the same configuration under LivenessProbe, but we're looking for ReadinessProbe. So a quick way is ReadinessProbe and : just press enter, and there you go. You just have to copy this and paste it in the container spec section. Okay, but if you're not sure, if you're just starting, when you keep doing this, you kind of you start remembering the properties and everything, so it's no big deal. Like if you're a beginner in the beginning, you can just refer to the manifest files. Okay, just copy it from here, or just copy a portion of it and paste it into your YAML. Okay, now let's press enter, and now let's check get pods. Let's enter the pod, and okay, so the file was supposed to be created in the temporary folder. So there you go, the file exists. Okay, now the the readiness probe is going to run after every 10 seconds. Okay, so we can also verify this. We can verify this by using the describe command. Describe the pod 6. So the container is running. Okay, so the readiness is here it is. Okay, this is the command that we defined with a delay of 5 seconds, and After every 10 seconds, it's supposed to run, okay? It was 0, comma 1 indicates that even though it's running, but the container didn't start, okay? Now, so this column is basically trying, it indicates that um, it shows you how many containers there are inside the pod and how many of them are running. So at this point in time, when I use the command kubectl get pods, it showed 0/1. So that means the readiness probe at that time didn't run. And now it shows 1/1. So that means it already ran the readiness probe, which allowed the container to start running. Okay, which basically now is ready for receiving traffic. So there are multiple ways of verifying this, and I'm gonna show you some other ways in the next question. Okay, so thank you.